DeFoi, and welcome in here. Normally I would say news junkies, but today we're going to mix it up because from this point forward, our segment with our tour guide, Michelle Hubbard, is going to be called Destination Unknown. And Michelle is going to provide our GPS, as it were, and we're going to explore all kinds of things as we wrap up 2015 and as we launch in to the new year. And first of all, I want to say a Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year. And we've got I think it's a great topic today because, as we were talking off camera, we have what I call the trifecta of holidays. Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have New Year's. And what do we do at all three events? We eat at Thanksgiving, we eat with family and friends on Christmas, New Year's. We're watching the Rose Parade, and we're, celebrating watching football. And what do? We eat. We eat. And a lot of people say on January 2nd, well, I got to get down to the gym. I've got all this excess padding and, body issues and body image and weight loss. I mean, that's pretty important. So our tour guide to the unknown with her GPS, our very own Michelle Hubbard, co-host.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Bill surprised me with that before we started, so I'm still kind of reveling in the idea of being a co-host and taking you to destinations in the unknown. I created a GPS for traveling in the unknown, and it is called Lift Yourself to the Stars. And Bill and I have been exploring Lift for several months now together. And in addition to Lift, which is a way of supporting yourself, of giving yourself confidence, getting to know and be with yourself in a way that you perhaps have never been before. Once that's kind of settled in, next comes a piece that a lot of people rebel against, which is involving setting goals. And really all a goal is an agreement with yourself, but the system that I developed for very friendly, very easy goal setting is called STARS. And it's setting goals that are very specific, time-based, so that you have a deadline of some sort, but most importantly, attainable. The reason we don't like goals is because a lot of times we set ourselves up for failure. Then are relevant. We do some exercises so that the goal that we're setting is not something that we feel some authority figure is imposed upon us, but something that comes from our heart is something we want to do, and here's a way to do it. And then the last step of STARS that's really important is that it's supported, so that not only if we're working together as a coach and a client, I'm supporting you, but also maybe you have friends that are supporting you. We do a character strength survey where you find and identify your own character strengths that are there to support you. So Lift Yourself to the Stars is the GPS that we'll be using to travel to destinations in the unknown.
Wonderful. Now, that being said, it might be helpful just to quickly review what LIFT means. It's an acronym.
Right.
So let's just quickly review that. I know that we have talked about them individually, but let's just put a quick summary on that, and then we'll launch off.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, LIFT is my acronym. L stands for Love Yourself, and the definition of love that I used is a little bit different than perhaps you're used to thinking of, which is to be willing to be in the same space as. And when we're using that towards ourselves, that can mean when I'm feeling scared, even if I'm feeling angry, when I'm feeling sad, when I'm messy. The next letter is I, and that stands for integrity-based living. And this, again, is where we look not at ethical and moral judgments, but what type of agreements are you making, and are they in alignment with what your yes, what your no is, what do you want? And from having the confidence to love yourself and identify what that is, what you want, that's a really great space to be living in total and complete alignment and integrity with what matters most to you. Then the letter F stands for face fears. And we look at fear, for those of you, I know, like perhaps Tanya and some of the hosts that come from a more religious or church-based perspective, maybe you're familiar with the Course of Miracles. And in Course of Miracles, it says that really all there is fear that causes ugly, inappropriate behavior, and love, which brings us joy, and is the way we can be so generous and kind with each other. So when we can face our fear and include that, and yes, even love that, meaning being willing to be in the same space as, then we can go forward in this earth as ourselves and create peaceful, loving relationships with each other. Then the last letter T stands for Thanksgiving. I use the word Thanksgiving instead of gratitude because I want to be sure that we include a true feeling of celebration, a true feeling of joy before we immediately leap into I feel thankful. Because when we do just that automatic leap, it becomes almost a feeling from guilt rather than when we can say I'm so happy to have received this or to have this, and that's why I feel grateful. A lot more power behind that.
Well, and there's so much to be thankful for. I mean, you have friendships, you have thanks for an income, thanks for any number of things. And so that attitude of gratitude really transcends a lot of different platforms.
Right, and when we're willing to see things and let them make us happy, that's how we can start seeing more and more things to be grateful and happy about, and they all just kind of like little amoeba just start expanding and exploring and dancing with each other, and it's a lovely space to create for ourselves and to move into.
Well, I want to tell you right now, I'm thankful you got the memo about matching attire today. So I'm glad about that. But we do have a serious issue that is on the table, and this involves people of all ages, but a lot of teen girls, I mean, are very self-conscious about body image, weight loss. How do they come across to their counterparts and even teenage boys?
Oh, absolutely. I brought some statistics. Would you like to hear some
Let's
things?
hear some statistics.
Okay. First of all is that sometimes body image and self-esteem are lumped together, and actually self-esteem is used to mean, by psychologists and the experts, our total impression of us as a being. And body image actually makes up one part of that, but more and more it's becoming such an important part of how we see our totality that it's getting even blurred up with our self-esteem for who and what all of us is. But with regard to statistics on teen body image, okay, I'm getting a bit of a glur here. Okay, over 50% of Americans aren't happy with their current weight, and 70% of normal women think that they are normal weighted women, what doctors find to be an average normal weight. They think that's overweight. Now, with regard to specifically adolescents, would you believe that over 80% of 10-year-olds are already afraid of being fat?
My lands, now that's a staggering figure. It really is.
And it's sad.
It is, but our culture today says, well, we'll just take the kids out to a fast food restaurant and pick up that burger, French fries, and a chocolate shake. And parents unknowingly, or perhaps even knowingly, contribute to that figure.
Well, and as you pointed out at the beginning, we have food and emotions tied up together. So in a lot of ways, for a parent who's busy working and wants to be sure that their child really enjoys this time together, the happy food, the comfort food, what we usually don't get for dinner food is a way of saying or trying to say, I love you, I want this to be a really special time together. And so to the child who's kind of picking up on this, food becomes a way of eating love and of feeling love. So we do have feelings and food intertwined rather tightly sometimes.
Now, normally I try to avoid company names, but in this case I'm going to make an exception. For younger kids, you go to a McDonald's, and it's not because of the food, because it's the same just about any place you go across the United States, but it's for the experience. They're going to get a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
It's a Happy Meal. It's not, let's go down and, Mickey D's and get a burger. It's they experience a Happy Meal.
And it's got a toy in it.
Yes,
So it's playing on the emotions that also are intertwined with the food that's in that colorful box where the wrapped up gift is. And next thing you know, when you're feeling sad, Happy Meal is calling you.
right. And I remember when my grandkids were much younger, I'd take two of my granddaughters and we would go out to McDonald's. Why? Because they wanted to get the Happy Meal.
Yeah, and they were probably feeling happy to be with you.
Yes.
Because it was a very special time and a moment. And so how do we celebrate these special time and moments? Well, back to food.
Right. And, and then we come into this cycle, or at least my perception anyway. And my perception in $5 may get you a cup of coffee at one of the leading retailers. But here's the thing. People that have these weight issues and body image issues, they'll feel guilty, and so what they do is they turn to food to relieve their guilt, and then they feel guilty because they've eaten, and oh my gosh, now they feel guilty again, and you see where this goes. It becomes a cycle.
And what it becomes is an eating disorder. So the perspective, now here's one, for example. Over 50% of teen girls, 30% of teen boys use unhealthy weight control behaviors, such as skipping meals, fasting, smoking cigarettes, and then you're getting into bulimia with vomiting and taking laxatives. And all this starts with is, how do we see our body? And when we look at what the media is telling us is an attractive body, is an ideal weight, there are a lot of us who don't match up to that.
When you have, publications come out and they show the models and this kind of thing and all sleek and slim, it's like, that's the goal for a lot of these teenage girls and boys as well.
And what happens if you are, I lived in Hawaii for a number of years, and in Hawaii there are a lot of Samoan girls, there are a lot of Portuguese girls, and they have dark black hair, they have darker skin, and they have very curvy figures. That is their genetics, that is in their DNA. They're not going to be a skinny white blonde twig, and a lot of the skinny white blonde twigs aren't that anymore either, without cosmetic surgery, which is happening at a younger age also. And so when I was living in Hawaii, this issue started to kind of grate on me because I was feeling sad for how many of these girls were not seeing themselves represented as beautiful in the media. And for example, at a Miss Hawaii pageant, or there's a Hawaiian actress, on Hawaii 5.0 and other media, they're thin. Their hair is starting to have more and more highlights in it. So again, the message of who the Hawaiian young woman is and can become wasn't really being celebrated or rewarded.
And people that do this kind of thing where they, make themselves sick or they take excess laxatives to slim down their body, what they don't realize that in the short term it may work, but in the long term they could be doing serious damage to their bodies.
Right, and when you're talking about teens especially, there is no long term. Their term is, how are my peers perceiving me right now when I go to school? And what is their greatest fear is being shunned, is being not good enough, not fitting in, and with the prevalence of bullying, it's becoming even more and more important that you do fit in. So, yeah, you're right. This concept of down the line, my future and my health is like, I don't care. I want to be the look that lets me into this group.
And down the road, they're going to come back and say, well, I should have taken better care of myself because now I have all of these health issues. But you're absolutely right. People that do this kind of activity now, all they see is what's right in front of them, just for that day or for that next day. But beyond that, that's their scope of what is out in the future because they have no concept of what mortality is and what life expectancy is all about either.
Right. And when they're getting the rewards that they want to get, a lot of times when people lose weight, they'll get compliments. And if they've been an unhealthy weight and overweight, those are true legitimate rewards for something that's difficult to do, which is dieting. But if that is something that you interpret as, this is the only way I can get compliments, and so I'm going to keep doing it, I'm going to keep doing it, and you start focusing on, if I eat so much of this, then I won't get this compliment. That's where the cycle of eating disorder starts to come into play, where something that was maybe started out as a healthy way to reduce weight and become a stronger, healthier individual becomes almost an obsession of sorts.
Well, there is a point where you have to eat healthy and not consume as many calories to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but you can cross over to the other side and do that to an excess, and I think that's what you're pointing out here.
Right, and that's where I think, again, it's healthy to be able to know who and what I am and accept myself. Even if I lose the 10 or 15 pounds that will put me to healthy weight, I won't be as skinny as who's on this magazine, in this reality show, on this tabloid, getting all of the big bucks. But I'll look better, I'll feel better. Now, if you don't have that level of confidence, you're going to want to keep spiraling until you fit what you see as a reflection of what our society values. Because otherwise you start to think, I don't have any value unless I have a body and a hair and a shape that looks like this person who is receiving all of this attention right now.
Would you say it's maybe a perception issue because people can look themselves in a mirror, they see one image, but in reality, they might see themselves as being fat, perhaps even ugly, but in reality, they're probably as thin as a rail, but that's not how they see themselves.
Exactly, and that's why I think it's important to focus on this perception of ourselves. And I think I'm not all that familiar with how the experts on, eating disorders and treating body image, but I believe that there is very much a true emotional component that they address as well.
In looking forward now to 2016, people that want to lose some weight, I know I've got my seafood diet, I got my food right out in front where I can see it. Or I've got my internal to-go container. But people that are serious about losing weight, is there, in your viewpoint, a healthy way to get themselves into shape without going overboard?
Well, I think first is to be able to accept yourself. Okay, I'm me, and I come from a family where I've got some big bones. So there's only a certain way that my body's going to look. And I'm okay with that. And, I'm never going to have the kind of shape and size like, fill in the blank, your favorite actress, your favorite model. But, when I smile, people like to see it. And, I really love animals, and I volunteer at this shelter, so, I like that I'm me. I think if you can first find these places where you like your me, then you're going to be sure and set healthy goals. Because you're not going to want to destroy yourself. You're going to care enough about you that you're not going to want to cause you harm. I think that when someone slides into an eating disorder, they're almost at the point where, I don't care about myself in any other way other than I'm what I believe to be skinny.
Which really ties back into this whole concept of lift, of loving yourself.
Yes, so important to tie back to, are you willing to be in the same space as this part of you that is hurting because it doesn't feel like it fits in? Or this part of you that feels terrified because it doesn't think it has any power over its life because no one likes it right now. or this part of you that says, I want to eat what I want, and I'll exercise after, or I won't, but I want to be able to show up as me at my weight and be valued. Getting to own those parts of us, I think, is important for helping us to choose and stick to whatever healthy diet and exercise regime. There's a myriad of options and information about picking the one that'll fit right and be easy and comfortable to do as well.
With the advent of certain surgical procedures, this is given, it's a cottage industry anymore, and a lot of people will say, you know, that's a quick fix. But really, that's not, in maybe the short term, but not again in the long term.
I think the long term is like you were pointing out, you know, in the short term there are the unhealthy side effects. So the long term is really the only, basically you're wanting it to be a lifestyle. You want it to be a commitment to, I deserve to be here on this planet living my life. And I want to do it in a healthy way so that I can keep doing these things that I do best and that I love to do. And once you've made that commitment, then you're going to tweak these maybe items that you eat, or as often as you eat them. Or you're going to not be so harsh on yourself when someone isn't accepting you the way you want to be accepted, and then run to the sweets or whatever the comfort food of choice for not being willing to feel the true emotion. When we feel like we have to purge what we're feeling, when we feel like we have to bury what we're feeling, when we feel like we have to starve what we're feeling, that's where we also start manipulating our relationship with food. And then that shows up as our body.
Is there some type of a checklist people can go through to evaluate where they're at and where they want to go, and the most safe and effective way to get to an ideal goal weight?
Well, I'm sure there is, you know, just in doing my own personal research, Weight Watchers has a very well established and healthy plan, and it's got it for ways to personalize it to what is your age, what is your level of activity. A diet that I really liked and worked for me was called the Zone, and that was because I needed to have more protein in my diet, as it turned out. I would say most important is to check with a physician, check with an expert, because what's going to work for someone is not going to work for another person. Our body chemistry is different. Our levels of blood sugar is different. And you want to be able to pick what's going to work best and easiest for you so that you'll stay with it.
Well, everybody has a different metabolism. Yours would be different from mine.
Right.
And mine would be different from somebody at home watching this. So it's best to consult a physician, maybe even a nutritionist, to see what is good. And if, you know, a certain disease like diabetes or kidney issues run in the family, they can perhaps steer you clear of certain foods that would contribute to the downfall of, you know, renal failure or contributing to type 1 or type 2 diabetes.
Right, absolutely. And then one of the things that I think is important once you've gone to this research and are at this place where you're ready to actually start implementing what you've learned is to do it in easy baby little steps so that what you're wanting to achieve is achievable. Don't set out, okay, this week I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Well, that's not realistic. And if you do it, you're going to be probably doing some sort of extreme behavior, or it'll just be temporary water loss, and that's not going to happen the next week. So keep your goals realistic. Make them friendly, like the STARS goal. Make it achievable. Make it important to you. Write down why this matters to me, so it'll help you to keep your motivation going. And ask for support. It isn't something that you have to do all by yourself all the time. You've got friends, you've got family, you've got the internet. In terms of, you can have little motivational sayings sent to your email or your text every day, something that'll help keep you feeling like you're being supported in this, what's a really big step in your own aliveness.
Would the statement be fair to say it's not so much what you eat as opposed to what's eating you?
Oh, I like that. I believe that. I definitely believe that. And I think that when you have the two in alignment, they'll fit each other. And most of all, though, I think when we are a safe space for what's eating us, what our feelings are to show up, then they don't eat us because they've got our attention. And once they have our attention, then we can include them. We can say, you know, I'm going to do this different now because you used to work for me when you came up, but now you don't anymore. But at least be a safe place to examine what it is that might be behind self-destructive eating behavior.
That comes right back to lift, facing your fears.
Exactly, yeah. And there are a lot of ways to face your fears. One of the things that you and I have talked about is that fear is underlying a lot of other emotions. So you maybe have to dig down a little bit to find out that under this feeling, well, I'm just angry. Well, maybe you're scared. And I feel so sad. Well, maybe you feel scared about something and that's what you're feeling sad about. So you don't need the Twinkie. What you need to do is just kind of stay with yourself long enough to realize, oh, I'm scared of this exam, or I'm scared of this tryout, or I'm scared that I am never going to fit in, no one's ever going to like me, I'm never going to have any friends.
You know, in going through high school, probably there's a certain segment of the population that desires to fit in with the popular kids, but for whatever reason, they just don't quite make the cut. And so those are the ones that are ridiculed, bullied, if you would, and teased. And, you know, unfortunately, this country has seen a growing number of young boys and girls in their teenage years taking their lives because they don't fit into that mold of being accepted.
Right. And it's a big fear. And there's a fear inside the people that are doing the bullying as well that I think needs to be addressed. What are they so scared of that they have to pick on this person over here to feel better? I don't know. I'm sure it differs from individual to individual, but are we even asking the question? You know, who knows? Maybe both individuals are afraid of the exact same thing. I'm afraid I won't fit in unless I look a certain way and you stop hitting me. I'm afraid I won't fit in unless I keep hitting you and prove how strong and powerful I am. I think these fears are being ignored to the point where they're violently, in some instances and more instances, calling out for attention.
Precisely. We're starting to run out of time, and I don't want to go too far without mentioning a book that you have written called Sour Notes.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, now this is a book that I actually first wrote in 1999 when I was still in Hawaii. And here's the cover. If you can see the artwork, it was actually designed by my artist friend Barbara Eberhardt. She's an artist who lives in Santa Barbara now. She actually moved from Hawaii shortly after I did. But this book centers around a group of teenage kids who go to the fictional Diamond Head High. And they are in a band. And the lead character in this particular book is a Portuguese teen girl who meets a guy and wants to look good for him, and there's another girl in the band who's really thin and has a great relationship and seems so pretty, and she wants to be this image of this girl and what she sees in the media, and so she goes to drastic measures to lose weight. She takes diet pills, she stops eating, she gets loopy, and you know, there are some consequences to that, and she ends up coming around and noticing the relationship that she had ignored, the friendships that were there for her all along, and appreciating herself and her life, and not feeling so at the whim of what this guy might think any longer.
Interesting. When I think in terms of what you're saying with this book, I mean, a lot of people can readily identify with, again, fitting in. in today's society.
Yeah, and especially our first romance, we can want it so badly and be so swayed by it that it's a way of pointing out it's okay to keep your feet a little bit on the ground.
It is, and I remember, in my high school days, I didn't really date until I was in my senior year, and I'd asked one girl out, and we went on a couple of dates, and she said, "Well, that's it, I'm out of here. You out of the gene pool." Well, yeah, I was crushed. I was devastated.
Wow,
Yeah,
that sounds brutal.
it was brutal, but then again, I wasn't in with the more popular groups of kids running through the high school at that time.
And I'm feeling like that expression from her says something about her too. And I don't know what, but it seems so strong and almost a violent choice of wording that I wonder what she was, feeling or going through that made that kind of.
Well, I'm sure she was getting some peer pressure.
Yeah, and she's young, but so are you, so you can't see it from that perspective at that moment.
And we all, as teenagers, want to be accepted by.
Oh, so important.
So important, not just by parents and relatives, but by your peer group.
Yes.
So important. Again, that comes back to image.
Yeah, and the best way to stand solid in the face of that is to have your own sense of self and value and worth. And you get that by being willing to be in the same space as yourself no matter what, by being willing to make agreements based on what your yes, your no, your want is, and by being willing to face fear, to take the breath that goes all the way into your belly, even if you have to say, wait a minute, I need to take a breath right now, and then I will respond to you. And then taking a look at what you have to be thankful for, because it's there.
What I hear in those last two statements, integrity, thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that rounds out that lift concept.
Right, and lift will be there to help you have the strength to own that yes and no and be thankful. Because sometimes thankful is not taken as all of that meaningful. So you're thankful, so what? You still don't have this, that, the other. Yeah, but I've got this feeling, and this feeling is what's going to keep me from harming myself in maybe a body image way, maybe some other way.
And perspective for one is one's reality too.
Yes, yeah. We are here at this moment of history for our planet and our people to make a difference, to make an impact, and because we have some unique way of being able to do that. I don't believe it's an accident who is here as our way of living is going through the what it's going through. And
You bring this up, and I don't mean to step on you, but
No.
what I'm hearing, excuse me, is that there's a traditional holiday movie out this time of year that it bombed in the theaters when it was first released, but it's a classic today, and that's It's a Wonderful Life, where George Bailey had a chance to step back and see what the world was like without him being present.
Yeah.
And it was a gift for him to see how much he was valued, how much he was loved by his wife, his kids, and family and friends. And when he was in this dimension of not being who he was or recognized, it really had a profound impact on him.
Right, and gosh, that movie, you're so right. What a beautiful illustration. We matter, and our presence here makes a difference, can make a difference. And just changing that perspective one little bit to looking at what if I wasn't here is a great way of owning I'm here and can help. And Something else that I love about It's a Life is that there's a little angel, I think, somewhere around each of us have our own that's kind of there cheering us on too. And once we change our perspective, we can maybe even get to meet that one.
You just never know. Well, listen, I want to give you an opportunity to give your contact information, how people can get the book, Sour Notes. To me, it sounds like a great read, and I know that people will enjoy that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I've had adult men who were friends, but it started out okay. Yeah, thanks for the book, but when they read it, they liked it. So adults, teens, it's appropriate for age 10 and up. The book is called Sour Notes. It has a beautiful blue cover designed by my friend Barbara Eberhardt, and it's available on Amazon.com. You can search it by Sour Notes. You may see a pink-covered version. That's the older version. This is the new one that has an up-to-date list of resources to help people who either they or someone they know might be going through eating disorder, body image issues. But if you if you on Amazon put in my name, Michelle Hubbard, you'll see this book and the other two on applying to law in grad school, and you can get it there. It's available Kindle or hardcover. And my website is michelleforyou.com. My email address is michellehubbard, and then the number 4, the letter U, @gmail.com. And my phone number is area code 805-814-6884.
Excellent. You've been watching Destination Unknown.
Woo!
How about that? I love that title.
Love that
With
title.
our tour guide and her GPS, Michelle Hubbard, I'm Bill DeFoi. Thank you for watching. Destination Unknown is a production of the Heritage Media Group.
Merry Christmas, everyone.